Welcome to a new video specially designed for SAP functional consultants, or those aspiring to become one. If you think this job is all about installing software and waiting for the magic to happen, think again. Today, we are going to explore the 7 mistakes you absolutely mustn't make as an SAP functional consultant, unless you have a particular affection for professional crazes. You'd be surprised how many SAP functional consultants in similar companies fall into these traps and scuttle their projects. Each point we cover will reveal not only the error to avoid, but also the best practices to adopt to turn these pitfalls into opportunities. So, whether you are a novice seeking wisdom or an expert looking for a refresher, this video has something for everyone. So sit back, grab some notes, and let's get down to business. Just when you think that over-customizing SAP is like customizing your smartphone, good luck with the updates. Imagine you work for a company. You've just integrated the SAP system and you are thinking, great, I'll customize this the way I want it. Add all the features I want and even flashing buttons. The trouble is, over-customizing the system can have serious consequences. Yes, customizability is one of SAP's strengths, but it can also be your worst enemy. Customization can pile up on top of each other, creating a complexity that makes updates and bug fixes extremely difficult, costly, and risky. Rather than turning SAP into a Frankenstein monster, take a more measured approach. Start by establishing solid documentation that details each change and its rationale. Use SAP's built-in tools to track customization and consult this documentation regularly before making further changes. Before embarking on a customization, carry out a thorough business analysis to determine whether the feature is really necessary. Talk to subject matter experts, end users, and even other SAP consultants to get a balanced view. Keep in mind that every customization needs to be tested with new SAP updates, which can quickly become costly in terms of time and resources. And finally, often, needs can be met by using standard features that you may not yet have discovered. When a functional consultant thinks that communicating with users or technical teams is optional, imagine yourself in your company, where things are going pretty well until a functional consultant decides to adopt a shadow approach. He seems to think that work can be done in silos, and that communicating with stakeholders is a waste of time. After all, who needs to talk to others when you know everything, right? Communication is the backbone of any successful project, and its absence can lead to a multitude of problems. In SAP, this can mean inadequate configurations, misunderstood requirements, and frustrated teams who have no idea what's going on. The key here is to maintain an open and constant channel of communication with all stakeholders. This doesn't mean spamming them with unnecessary emails, but you should keep them informed of important updates and solicit their feedback. For the best practices, set up a schedule of regular meetings to share updates and receive feedback. Use tools like Confluence or SharePoint to document processes, decisions, and changes. Make sure all team members have access. Be clear about objectives, deadlines, and responsibilities. A good functional consultant is also a good project manager. Use tools like Slack or Microsoft Teams to enable real-time communication between technical and functional teams. And then, Take the time to listen to the problems or needs of users and technical teams to provide more effective solutions. So by becoming more of a spirit guide than a ghost, you guarantee a smoother workflow and ultimately a more successful SAP project. Who needs a project plan when you can live dangerously? Back at your factory where everything seems to be going swimmingly, at least until our beloved chaos artist arrives. This functional consultant firmly believes that project plans are for people who don't like surprises. And who doesn't like a good old-fashioned surprise, especially in an expensive and complex SAP project, right? The absence of a structured project plan is a recipe for disaster. Not only does it jeopardize on-time delivery, it can also lead to budget overruns and misallocation of resources. In a business where manufacturing requires great precision and meticulous coordination, a chaos artist can lead to disastrous consequences. Rationally dictates that we create a solid project plans that aligns all aspects of the SAP project, from specifications to implementation, testing, and deployment. Such a plan must be flexible enough to accommodate adjustments, but robust enough to serve as a reliable guide. For the best practices, invest time in the planning phase to clearly identify objectives, deadlines, resource requirements, and potential risks. Use tools like Microsoft Project or Jira to track progress and manage tasks. Organize project reviews at regular intervals to assess project status against plan. Make sure every team member has access to the project plan and understand his or her role in it. And finally, prepare contingency plans for identify risk scenarios. Prevention is better than cure. So, if you don't want to turn your SAP project into a chaotic world of art worthy of a disaster movie, a good project plan is a must. Why plan for risk when you can discover them in real time? Let's put ourselves back in the context of your company, a model of control and coordination. But now a new character enters the scene, the risk blind. This functional consultant is a true adventurer. Why anticipate problems when you can experience the thrill of discovering them as you go along? Ignoring potential risks is not only unwise, it's also a fast track to project failure. In an industry like manufacturing company, where the slightest mishap in the production chain can have costly repercussions, the let's play Russian roulette approach of risk blindness can be disastrous. Risk identification and management must be an integral part of every SAP project. This includes regular assessments and updates of the project risk profile, as well as clear strategies for mitigating these risks. For the best practices, before launching a project and throughout its life cycle, carry out a systematic risk assessment. Identify the risk with the highest probability of occurrence and the greatest impact, and address them as a priority. Develop mitigation plans for each identified risk. This may include specific tasks, allocated resources, and a timetable. Ensure that all team members are aware of the identified risk and associated mitigation plans. And then organize periodic reviews to assess new risks and progress in mitigating existing ones. So, if you don't want your SAP project to become the professional equivalent of a horror movie where every scene reveals a new monster, it's best to be vigilant about the risk right from the start. Do you think business goals and IT solutions translate like Google Translate? We are back with you, where everything seemed to be going so well, until our self-proclaimed raw translator came on the scene. According to him, translating business needs into technical requirements is as simple as using Google Translate to translate a sentence from one language to another. After all, how could anyone possibly misinterpret, increase productivity, or improve efficiency? Could they? Poor translation between business objectives and technical solution can have serious consequences. Incorrect configuration, inefficient process, and frustrated users whose needs are not being met. To avoid getting lost in translation, it's crucial to create a common language between business and technical teams. This requires a deep understanding of business needs as well as the communication skills to translate them into feasible technical requirements. For the best practices, organize working sessions with stakeholders to clearly define business objectives and translate them into technical requirements. Create a functional specification document that serves as a reference point for both teams. Before implementation, validate requirements with business and technical teams to ensure alignment. Set up regular feedback channels to adjust solutions based on feedback. And encourage some cross-training between teams to improve mutual understanding of challenges and opportunities. In short, if you don't want your SAP project to be a giant misunderstanding with costly consequences, make sure that the translation of business requirements into technical solutions is as accurate as possible. Because training users is for the weak, isn't it? You seem to be safe in your company. But then a lazy pedagogue appears. This functional consultant believes that time spent training users is time wasted. After all, users will find their way through this maze of SAP configuration, won't they? Lack of proper training can lead to a host of problems. Costly errors, inefficiencies, and ultimately frustrated employees. Without a clear understanding of the system, even the best SAP configuration is destined to fail. Well-structured, detailed training is essential to ensure optimum use of the SAP system. To be truly effective, training should be tailored to users' specific roles and needs. In terms of best practices, establish a training plan that includes clear objectives, training content, and timetable. Tailor training to the specific needs of different user groups. Prepare high-quality training documents and videos to complement in-person training sessions. Include practical tests and evaluation to measure training effectiveness. And finally, collect post-training feedback and use it to improve future sessions. If you don't want your SAP project to turn into a chaotic scene of lost and frustrated users, don't cut corners on training. After all, a trained user is a happy user, and a happy user is good for business. The consultant who thinks he doesn't need to learn about the latest updates or best practices. We've saved the best for the last. Indeed, a new protagonist makes his entrance. Mr. Know-it-all. This functional consultant thinks he has nothing new to learn. After all, aren't the practices of 10 years ago it now? In a dynamic environment like SAP's, thinking you know everything is like saying you don't need to update your smartphone. That may work for a while, but sooner or later, you're going to find yourself in over your head. To be effective and relevant, it's crucial to keep up to date with the latest features, updates, and best practices in the SAP field. For this part in best practices, engage in ongoing training, whether through online courses, webinars, or specialist conferences. Follow SAP's official publications and other reliable sources to keep abreast of the latest developments. Join professional forums and communities to exchange tips and advice. Remember to get the latest certifications to validate your skills and knowledge. And finally, best practices evolve. Review your methodologies regularly to make sure they are up to date. So if you don't want to become a dinosaur in the fast-moving world of SAP, put your ego aside and adopt a continuous learning mindset. And so, dear aspiring SAP consultants, we've reached the end of our journey through the 7 mistakes you definitely don't want to make in your career. If you think you are safe because you are experienced, humility is the key to progress. If you found this video helpful and want to avoid becoming the next star of our Mr. Know-it-all series, we've got exactly what you need. Firstly, our training platform is a goldmine of learning resources that can help sharpen your SAP skills significantly. Secondly, for those looking for more personalized guidance, Kaiser Training is here to help you navigate smoothly through this complex ecosystem, helping you avoid those common pitfalls. So don't hesitate. Click on the links below to discover our platform and find out more about the services offered by Kaiser Training. After all, when it comes to SAP, excellence isn't a skill, it's a choice. Make the right choice today.